Countdown.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Wheels and Heels. You see, every time Ryan is on the show, he's like doing the same thing. Travis, isn't that catchy?
Listen, that is first time for me to experience that intro firsthand, and I got to tell you, if that doesn't amp you up, I don't know what.
Yeah, it's a pro intro.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. God, if you're asleep now, you're not anymore. Hello, how are we doing?
Yeah, that was created by one of our family members, Josh Bauer. He is a graphic designer and an artist.
I've talked to Josh actually.
Yeah. I mean, this is some of Josh's work in the back there. But
I was looking at that. Yeah. Beautiful stuff. I like it. I have this.
Oh man, yeah, you got movie posters, comic stuff. I mean, you got it all back there.
Yeah, but Eric. He's got the he's got
the magic bar. Background. I'm in my magic bar. That's where I'm at.
Everything is magical about that right now. Basically, he's in a realm that I want to be in right now. Like, this is cool, but I mean, come on, that's an afternoon and a half right there.
This is my magical happy hour right here.
There you go.
Oh yeah. So we're on our 45th episode. We started
I'm drinking water.
Everybody's drinking water. He's a magician. He can change into anything he wants.
Vodka out of a Tervis just kind of seems a little lackluster, you know.
But it's a Deadpool one.
Yes,
exactly. That gives it so much more character right there.
The best.
It's what he would do. It's what Deadpool would want.
Yeah.
So on this lovely 45th episode, wow, I can't believe we're 45 episodes in already. We started this, thanks to the pandemic. I mean, we couldn't go anywhere. So yeah. I think everybody and their brother
we say thanks to the pandemic. We did this instead of killing each other.
Yeah.
It's the only way to keep sanity. I fully understand. These four walls would be completely destroyed if I didn't have an outlet. So you just got to be roaming around, just something to do.
So, as I said, we have one of Nerd Culture's own, Travis Troller. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. And for everybody watching, hello. If you haven't seen me on Nerd Culture before, this is definitely your first time seeing me here. So I will once again say thank you, Brian, everybody, for allowing me to be on. This first time guest spot for me, and I'm excited. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to contribute to the conversation, but I'm going to try my hardest.
And we're joined by Magician Erick Olson. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing really good. It's a nice day here in Florida for the people who are
it actually, looking outside, it is nice.
Yeah.
So it's today it is hot and humid. Very humid.
Least favorite part about Florida.
Least favorite, yeah. But everything magical today. So Eric is a magician. So before we hop into the actual topics, what made you fall in love with magic?
It was actually a movie, Houdini with Tony Curtis.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was in third grade, saw the movie, and he got out of handcuffs, and I'm like, I might need to learn how to do that someday. And I went to the library. It's a useful skill, right? I went to my library. I grew up in Wisconsin, unfortunately. And I went to my local library, and I said, hey, do you have any books on Houdini? And they said, no, we don't have any books on Houdini, but we have books on magic. And I'm like, they can just give secrets away at the library? I was like mind blown. How is that possible? And I checked out a couple books, and the librarian, before she let me check out my third book, she wouldn't let me check out another book unless I did a trick for the whole class. So
what was that trick? if you can remember.
I'm trying to remember now. It was a rope trick where you cut the rope and restored it. And I think I even messed up and the pieces fell to the floor, but everybody still clapped, even though I didn't do it right, and I was hooked.
Because you said the magic words. You had that happen, you played it off. You just looked at the class and went, ta-da.
Yep, that's a line.
And they're like, oh, brilliant. There we go.
Brilliant. They were just happy not to have to...
Mixing comedy and magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way to go.
And that's kind of what... Yeah, and that's kind of what happened is I started doing with my magic, a little bit of comedy, and I started doing both magic and some stand-up and corporate events, and I've done a little bit of everything. Everything from birthday parties to, doing shows in Vegas.
So, third grade is when you fell in love. When did you actually is that when you realized that's what you wanted to do as a profession, or?
Yeah, I was instantly hooked. And once I did my first birthday party, got paid $12 and I thought $15. I thought I was going to be rich. So I'm like, this is it. This is,
You can take it and you can multiply it. Just make it into a stack.
Yeah.
Like, there we go. One party sets me, I'm good for the rest of the life right there.
Exactly.
So when did it start for you professionally?
I started doing shows start 16 and on up. That's all I've been doing. So everything from just doing a multitude of birthday parties on a weekend, since I do between 3 and 6 back in the day, birthday parties, going from one house to the other, resetting, re-putting the birds or the dove or the rabbit back in the box and going from house to house to house. And then somebody saw me years later and said, you could do corporate. And then I started doing more adult stuff and, clean comedy because of the corporate world. But I still did stand up, learned my comedy chops, made it clean, and then did corporate events. And then until, the pandemic, I was doing tons of trade shows. That's what my last thing was. Companies would bring me in, I get a crowd, do a little magic, pitch their product, and then turn them over to the sales force over and over and over, 30 times a day.
Yeah. So have you been to the famous, was it Magic Castle in Los Angeles?
I'm a member of the Magic Castle.
Oh.
Yes, I performed there a couple times too.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's cool. Yeah.
And you said you performed in Vegas. We're out in Vegas. We actually used to live in Vegas.
Oh, yeah. I used to do everything from the comedy club at the Tropicana to all the corporate big events. They'd bring me out there for after dinner, after their corporate events, have me come in and entertain. So I've got to pretty much perform in tons of those, everything from the Wynn to Venetian, just depends on where the event was.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what about you, Travis?
Dude, you can't come to me after that. You can't come to me after that backstory.
When did your love of magic just in general?
Well, first off, I'm going to fully disclose I'm probably not as passionate as Eric because he's actually able to do it.
Yeah.
Chops to him already. That whole thing, Eric, that sounds awesome, fantastic. But just like every other person who probably would come to the shows, it blows your mind. The amount of things I've seen over the course of my life where there's just always that one trick where they do it and I love the ones that they do it right before your very eyes and you see it change but you don't know how they did it and it mind boggles you. Yeah. And for the rest of that day, even for the rest of the week, you're just how do they do, you almost drive yourself crazy. How the hell did he do that? There's no logical explanation. Hold on, wait a minute. There's something so captivating about the art. It's crazy and it's fantastic. And what I find so interesting, Eric, you were talking about how you had to work when you were doing stage performances and everything, you had to work on your comedy aspect of it.
Yeah.
And you had to find your rhythm, your style and all that stuff. I'm very much into also looking at the art of stand-up comedy and everything, and crowd work is especially for a comic magician, crowd work is the biggest thing. I've seen pros go at it and they never miss a beat. They're always on, just they keep when they bring guests up, they keep them going and everything. I'm sitting there and I'm watching them and I'm enjoying the show, but I see what they're doing and I'm just God, they're good.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a file. You got to keep a file. And then that moment happens that only happens maybe once a year, but that's when that little file card comes out of your brain. You're like, boom, I finally get to use this joke after a year, You
got to find those windows. And you can see these guys, if you're really paying attention to it, you can notice what they're doing. So they're leading up to that that moment. They're creating that window. So that way, when they kind of you lead You lead the guests on you know, that are on the stage. That way, once they finally get you there, you'll be like, you fell right for it. Here we go. And boom, you know, like you just drop the bomb on them. And I just always found that really fascinating. I love the idea of the crowd work and everything. And not only doing something that can like kind of suspend disbelief for the audience, but just it keeps them encapsulated. Like you would think a guy standing on stage talking excessively would just bore you, but it's like it gets you to a point where you're hanging on every word because you're just like, he's about to do something. He's about to do something, and it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I think where I kind of fell in love with the whole thing is at a young age. I probably shouldn't have been watching this, but I got introduced to David Copperfield through the horror movie Terror Train.
Terror Train. Wow, you don't hear that too often. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes.
And so like I was like, whoa, David Copperfield. I got to find out about this guy, and I mean, he's probably the go-to. Like a lot of people were like, David Copperfield was their first introduction to like magic, depending on their age.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of things. How the hell did he do it? Like, how do you make the Statue of Liberty disappear? You know?
And really, we talked to most magicians. I would say between getting a magic kit and seeing David Copperfield, the two main reasons my generation's really got into magic. Really, that's the two most popular things you hear. And now the youngsters is like David Blaine or Chris Angel, but up until I say somebody up in their, 40s, probably the mark-off was Copperfield was really their inspiration.
Yeah, and like I said, we lived in Vegas. We saw Lance Burton, right? I think
Lance, he's such a nice guy. Yeah. He moved. He's now out of Vegas and he moved to Kentucky, moved on the family farm, and is just relaxing and kind of a family farmer now. He doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Vegas paid off for him. So,
yeah.
I mean,
$100 million contract for 13 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So Willows says Penn and Teller are her favorite.
It's funny because the most hilarious. But like my first like magic like interest was my sister's, I think she was 7. She had a magician for her 7th birthday. And so like my sister and I are we're 2.5 years apart, and she was born in December and I was born in June. So our birthdays kind of always end up being kind of a flop because people couldn't always come to them because it was either over Christmas or over the summer. So she happened to have like 10 people at this birthday party, and my mom hired a magician, and the magician looked like my dad. My dad had passed a few years before, and so the magician actually looked like my dad. Really bore a pretty strong resemblance to him. And so there's pictures of him like doing the trick with a rabbit. And there's pictures of my sister like sitting in front of him and like holding this rabbit that he just, manifested out of wherever. And we were just enthralled. So like we were excited about it. And then there's like the really interesting practical magic, like Magic for Humans that's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Where
just a woman.
Sleight of hand, but there's like that distraction involved. And then you're like, wait a minute, how did that happen? Like I was right here. And he was right here in front of my face.
I love how he does that because it is not edited. He does it like right.
Like he just says, hello, come look at this trick. And you're just like, you just did that. And I don't know what happened.
And Justin's doing a lot of Zoom shows that anybody can buy tickets. They're like $25. You can go to his website and he does, a couple a week. You can see him live in his house, just like me doing a show. It's kind of amazing. It's a really good show, actually.
Yeah.
So I think it's just fun to watch. It's just fun to watch and to be amazed because when you learn about the brain, you know why your brain doesn't see things, but you still can't figure out how they can play on that, like how they can find that thing that you're not going to pay attention to. Like, how did I miss it? Like, what did I miss?
I have that same level of frustration when it comes to the sleight of hand sort of magic, because when I was first introduced to it, of course, probably like anybody else, you go to the internet and you look up every video possible. I'm like, all right, what is the point here? So I was able to learn the basics and understanding of like the the 101s of it is like, you kind of are like you try to like talk to them enough and engage with eye contact. So that way they're forced to look at you. So that way you're free to use the hands, or you have your hand doing one thing over here, like holding onto their wrist while you're doing something like over to the sides and everything, like pickpocketing something, so like you misdirect. Misdirection is a strong thing. So every time I see it now, I go in fully aware of that, but I still get caught. No matter what I do, no matter how aware I am that they're trying to do something, it's like they know. So even though I think I should actually be looking here, even though they probably don't want me to, it's exactly where they wanted me to go because they're doing something when I'm not looking. Like, it's funny that we actually bring this up because yesterday I had them. Oh yeah, make the traffic disappear. That's it. Eric, that's the next one right there. You're gonna do that one.
I'm not Copperfield. I'm in your budget. Just remember that.
Okay, well, you know what? We can get there. You know what? Yeah. Because that's career building right there. Like no one's ever going to forget that trick. Yeah. But so, I had it where there was a video of a street performer, and he was doing some sleight of hand with a coconut, and not a small one, like a big coconut, and he was having this thing. He was so good at his sleight of hand that he was able to make this thing almost practically disappear in his hand without even barely moving. And I'm sitting here watching him over and over again, and I'm wondering, like, where's he go? What pocket is he putting it in? Yeah. I'm not seeing him even go close to his waist or anything. Everything's out here. So I just don't know where the give and take is. And at one point, the thing is gone. Nobody knows where it is. And in front of all of us, he somehow is making this large coconut come out of his mouth, and I'm like, what? Where? How? I was like, every expectation was blown away. I was like, it's crazy how people can do this. Like I still don't know how he does it.
So this is probably for you and Eric. Eric might know, but maybe you might know. Where does magic come from? Like, where's the origins of magic?
That's a good question.
Well, there was a book called the History of Witchcraft. Even though it wasn't witchcraft, it was actual tricks that people still do today. It was actually the first magic book ever that came out in history. So I think it actually started even in the Egyptians. When you look on the hieroglyphics, there's a magician doing like the cups and balls. So as far back as there's been drawings, there's been somebody you can looks like they're doing magic.
I think there's always been a need to explain something. So when you couldn't explain something, it had to be magical. Like it has to be just something that happens. And so I think a lot of that stemmed from, what people consider, ritual magic now and even like supernatural stuff, but also like that ability to have sleight of hand. And it is kind of like somebody has power over your senses at that point because they're making something happen that you can't quite put your finger on. So I think that's probably where a lot of it comes from, that need to understand, but having no ability to understand and just labeling it something because it makes you feel better.
Right. Not what I do, but if the definition of like what you would consider real magic is something that cannot be explained by science,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on that note, let's jump into why it's fresh. Let's talk about Wanda Maximoff and WandaVision. I know Travis just ended his episode 8 spoiler discussion, which they did a good job over there at Nerd Culture. So what is it that draws us to this character that's been around in the comics for many years? And I'll start with you, Travis.
I just see it at this point as it's just the art of storytelling, because when you watch this show like WandaVision, you see Wanda as a character. We already go in with a suspension of disbelief because we know none of this is real. We most of us have the concept in our head that what she's doing is not possible. So it's not like she's fooling us or anything, but it's the fact that just like how storytelling has been since the dawn of time, it's an escape from the reality like of the real world, because like you can watch something that's an epic and fantastic, and you can invest in that. And it's like people are very much attracted to something they've never seen before. Like that's just what storytelling is in general. Because I remember when I went to school for film, and I would have this teacher who would teach us screenwriting. He would basically say like storytelling is doing something that no one has really seen before, or it's out of the ordinary. That's what gets people's attention. Then his example, which I still find funny to this day, is you can compare it to something as simple as say you're driving down the highway and you're looking and you're seeing a billboard. Like, yeah, it gets your attention, like, sure, because like maybe like the visuals pop or something. But if you're driving down the highway and say if somebody's like pulled over and all their wheels are gone on their car, it's on fire and they're freaking out, they don't know what to do, you can guarantee every single person who drives by is going to slow down and like kind of like look at before they like start rolling away, because it's not something you see in your everyday life. So it just kind of encapsulates you. So that's why I think like the whole, like, at least on the magic aspect of it for like WandaVision and everything, she's just a unique character because she does something that we don't ever see before. So it's like we don't know what the possibilities are if you even tapped into that world and that realm of like what that could be. So that's why we want the show to answer those questions. Like, if this character did exist, what does that look like? What do they do? Because we all have this fascination, this interest, and this burning like sensation to want to know. Like, that's what I think it really is.
Eric, you want to go ahead and add on to that?
For me personally, it's more like I'm like learning what type of magic she has and how she's getting her magic. Like what I'm wondering is, my theory is, does she have the X gene and that's what enhanced it when she got close to the stone? I mean, because she didn't really show the powers when she was little, right? So far, but then they knew she had some powers, and then the stone enhanced it. So I'm just curious why her magic was created or how it was enhanced. So that's where I'm kind of like that route. And I'm just going with the theory that maybe that's how, maybe bring in more of the X-Men. Maybe she's got the X gene and that just enhanced it. That's just a theory. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. And what about like Agatha, which is a witch that I guess the way that's portrayed now is dark magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was always dark magic, though. Like,
doesn't she go good and bad a lot in the comic books, if I remember correctly?
But if you look at her representation in the comic book, it's not good or bad magic. It's self-serving magic. Whatever works for her is what she does. So when people deem her good, it's still serving her. And when she does something bad, it's still serving her, which is contrary to the popular belief of magic in general. Like, what people practice now is what you put out there is what you get back.
Yeah.
In the rule of 3. So she doesn't care that it's self-serving magic. She doesn't mind. And that's what makes her so powerful, is that she can harness that. But
and then you have the other side, which is like Wong and Doctor Strange, the Ancient One, which it is cool that each one has a different color magic. Like when Doctor Strange opens the portals, it's like a yellowish orange.
Yeah.
Agatha is purple, and then the chaos magic is red.
Yeah.
But if you think about the way color plays into that too, is that we deem color to have meaning too. So like, when like purple is kind of a dark, like deep color, and red is kind of a chaotic color in a way because of fire. And so it kind of makes sense that's what they deem. But, I think the part that I love about WandaVision is that they made her a person with real problems. Like,
yes.
Like this whole episode, like Brian was like, you're going to need tissue. And I'm like, okay, I'll need tissue. Sure I will. But when she talks about grief, like, you really talk about grief, and what they say about grief, it's like it controls a lot of your life, and grief is love, like that love that lives long after someone's gone. And what do you do with that when you can't show it to that person anymore? Like, I mean, it really hit a chord. Like, I think a lot of the mutant kind of like storylines kind of hit a chord with what it really is like to be human.
Yeah, I really feel that Marvel's really got that, where they hit those touching moments more than DC. I mean, there's been characters where I didn't really care what happened to them, but Marvel, you like connect with them so much better. The writing is just so good.
Marvel has a really great way of. That's what makes their characters so famous, because they're notorious for doing what everybody here is saying, which is they relate them to real world problems, and then they sprinkle it with this, the fantastic, epicness of it, with like them having the ability, of course. But the thing is, that's not like the main focus, because the underlying tone, the A story that's driving it, is something that you can all relate to. That's why the creators that made, Spider-Man and everything, like all of them, like they say to this day, like that's why he worked so much, because he was a real kid with real problems. So it didn't matter if he put on spandex and started shooting webs, swinging around, had super strength or whatever. It's like he goes home at the end of the day, he's like, how am I going to pay rent this week? And you sit there and you're like, oh my God, like you see yourself in these characters when you humanize them like that.
Yeah.
And it gives you an opportunity to realize that, not all the crap we put up with on a daily basis is always going to hang around. Like there's that double side of our personalities that say like, this is the real me, and this is the part of me that I keep hidden, and this is the part of me that helps me get through whatever nonsense is happening in my life at the time. That's how I get through it, is, like what did Spider-Man do after Uncle Ben died? He threw himself into being Spider-Man. It's like, it's not a healthy thing, but isn't that what we all do? Is we find a way to deal with whatever the trouble is. So,
yeah. So, Eric, when you were growing up, was there a magical book or a comic character or TV show or a movie that you really liked?
It's a good question. As far as comic books, not as magical, but I thought I was the underdog until, now Marvel brought up. I always liked Iron Man. As far as when I go to the comic book store, that was the one I always picked. I think because he was a real person and put stuff in. But as far as magic on TV and stuff like that, there was been, lucky enough, I grew up first seeing Doug Henning and then David Copperfield. I mean, David Copperfield was like the Super Bowl. When those specials came on, you had to be completely quiet in my house, and the phone rang for people to say, David Copperfield's on. Yeah, I know. It's my Super Bowl. It's what I live for once a year. It was great having those specials. And then they had specials later on Thanksgiving. I don't know if you guys remember the World's Greatest Magic. So there's quite a few years of those every Thanksgiving. And I got to be the assistant on the very first special. So you can see me with my mullet carrying the boxes and stuff on stage for them at Caesar's Palace. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool, even though just being the roadie basically in the show was great, being part of the history of the magic,
Yeah.
It's the mullet that made you strive. It was business in the front, party in the back.
Yeah. Had to have it. It was good enough for Copperfield. It was good enough for me.
There you go.
What about you, Travis? Is there a certain magical comic book character or a TV show or a movie? I know you're a little bit younger.
The funny thing is that I mean, I've said this for a while, but like it makes it ironic that I'm here, because honestly the people that I followed a lot were the characters like I related to more, or that infatuated me more, but they were always people of science, which is the exact opposite of what's this conversation's about. Like it started off with Peter Parker, and he was just a genius, a whiz. He was able to create his own web shooters. It's just like he logically had an answer for everything. And I was just like, oh man, like he's so capable. And because he was like a younger kid at the younger age, like he was like the sense of pure like innocence in a way, and strength and stuff. So I thought that was cool. But then when I got older, now this is like going like past like genres and stuff. Well, not genres. I levitated to Batman of all people, because then he had more of a seriousness, like a darker tone to everything, kind of like almost pulling back the veil to how like dark the world can be and how to like live with that. So I kind of always like that dynamic at like an older age, because there's just a stronger sense of risk and seriousness to everything. But again, I liked him so much because you could relate to him, like, or you could strive to want to be him, because he's a normal guy amongst beings with abilities you can't understand, yet he holds his own. And that's something that just doesn't go unnoticed. Like it's like you sit there and you look at him and you go, how is this man possible? Like, how is it possible for him to do so much? And that's what made me get so like infatuated with characters like that. I do have characters that I enjoy that delve into the magic side of it. If we're not talking about superheroes, I mean, I'm not the hardcore fan, but I watched all the Harry Potter movies. Those were definitely ingrained in me at a young age. So those were childhood to me as well. But they felt like different worlds than superheroes.
I was going to ask everyone then, what was it that made this, because they were books before they were the films. What was it about those books that made it what it is? I mean, it was a worldwide phenomenon. Like, you don't see books do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it's the world it made.
Yeah,
honestly, because there was already such a strong fan base with the books when they came out that there was a massive community that's in love with this. So the fact that when they finally decided to pull the trigger and say, "Hey, let's make this a whole genre of film," of course they already had that following, so there was already that confidence there that it could work successfully. But I think they're just, from the time the stories were like actually written down on paper to where they're at now, it's because they not only gave us characters, but they painted an entire world that's literally mirroring our own. Like, it almost makes you like believe like what they set up in the story, which is this world is real. It's just hidden within the normal realm. And then that alone makes you start to kind of like look at everything different, and your imagination goes wild. I'm like, I wonder, like, and that's what it is. It's a sense of wonder and curiosity. Like,
I think too is
got
one
me
of
so
those
captivated.
One of those things too where they kept the continuity. They made the fans who really read the books didn't have that much to nitpick about because they still enjoyed the movies, compared to getting the wrong writers, wrong directors, kind of go, well, we want to go this direction with it, which happens.
Yeah.
How many times in our world have we watched something, we're like, oh, come on, just pull it from the book and just take it from there? Would have been so much better than you trying to do your own version of what we grew up with,
Yeah.
When we grew up, and the kids that were reading it were growing up with Harry. So a lot of the things that he was experiencing as an 11-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, and then on to, being an adult and coming into his own, he kind of like, they could follow it, even though the book's kind of succession was a little bit faster than a kid's growing up. It was like that they could still invest in that character. And because he went through this like journey, it kept everybody hanging on for the next thing that would happen. And they were really invested in the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the important thing. And I think that's the trick of any writer, is you get people to, enjoy the character so much that they mourn the loss when the book is over. You read the book and you're like, I just don't know what to do with myself now.
Yeah.
Like, until the next one comes. And then when there's no next one, you're like, that character becomes part of who you are.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's, a couple other books that became films as well as, The Lord of the Rings and then the Narnia series, which both deal with magic.
It's like an other realm kind of thing, like that.
Yeah.
What's just beyond our reach, what's just beyond our vision, what lives in the in-between.
I don't know why, but there's definitely a pattern of movies that kind of have a magical sense to them. They do have a history of being executed a lot better, or being favored amongst the community a lot better when they are set a little closer to home in some way, whether it's magic that's intertwined into the real world, or it's going through a portal from the real, like the normal realm, into something else. Like, establishing that connection, knowing where you're at isn't the only place, you can also go here. Like that just kind of like helps people jump into the story more, instead of it being like set up on a completely made up different planet with all these like this new race. Like, it doesn't even like have to do with like Earth or mention human beings. It's just it's its own thing. Yeah. Like that connection is really what like gets us going, I feel.
And I don't know if you guys ever realized it, but not that kind of magic, but more my kind of magic. Every sitcom when I grew up, if it lasted more than a year, there was always an episode that had something to do with either a magician coming to the house or them trying to put somebody in the box and make him disappear. Like, when you really think about it, there are so many shows that have at least one magic theme episode. It's amazing. And I catch it all the time. Like when I'm watching old something, I'll see Heart to Heart and there'll be a bunch of illusions. Knight Rider, Lance Burton was a bad magician on it. Like, every show, eventually, if they made it to at least one season, did a magic theme episode.
I never noticed that until now. Why do you think that is? Because you're right, now that I think about it.
No, you can do it with every show. I've done it one day and I was like, this is crazy. Everyone's had a magic theme episode.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just thought of that. Seinfeld
and
Friends, they both had magic. Yep.
But I think it's our general interest in how people can bend our perception of something. Like, I mean, I really think that people are enthralled by that. So it's weaved itself into the pulp culture. So it becomes part of what we watch. It becomes part of what we read. It becomes part of like our everyday whatever. I really think that's true.
Look at even like Modern Family. Phil Duffy does magic as a hobby. There's like, it always hits you throughout TV, the magic somewhere,
Well, here's two films that I believe they came out in the same year. One got more noticed, is The Illusionist and The Prestige.
Yes. Both great movies.
Yeah, they're great movies. I do prefer The Prestige a little bit more. I mean, I love Hugh Jackman.
Me too.
I like it.
So
it's like my further disdain of Edward Norton. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So what did you think of The Prestige and how they handled magic?
I loved it. And they kept true to the art. When they said, they used to kill canaries in that trick. They used to kill canaries in that trick. I mean, they didn't hold back. They didn't. And there was a lot of the stuff that he did was he actually physically did. It wasn't CGI. And that's, in my world, we always appreciate when they take the effort to learn it in a magic movie and do it right. So you guys actually see it is possible, And, Hugh Jackman was supposed to be Houdini on Broadway, but it never came through.
Oh, I would have loved that.
Yeah, wouldn't it have been great? Yeah.
A fan, like he's already doing shows, on stage now, and his presence on there, like that's where he started, and you can see he's going back to his roots, and he flourishes. Like it's fantastic.
Yeah.
There was a joke about WandaVision and the whole Nexus where the Nexus beings can open any dimension, and that the joke was they're going to open it and out comes Hugh Jackman, but not as Logan, but as the Greatest Showman, and he's going to come out and start singing and out.
Honestly, it wouldn't be the worst decision Marvel's made, so I'm in for it. I'm 100% down.
Well, remember Ant-Man? Ant-Man 2, remember when he was on lockdown, they was learning the magic. Remember?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up earlier, but I forgot.
And then in WandaVision, he brought it up again. He put on the card as a callback, and he goes, Scott, how did you do it? Do what? The card trick, And then he did it in WandaVision. Not very good, but he made the card, and I like that. And that was actually Blake Voigt, so a magician I know, was the magic consultant on that. And
nice.
Again, they learned everything.
That was going to be my thing. I was going to have it where early on in this conversation, when we were still in introductions, I was going to be like, Eric's only here to teach us how did Wong do this trick.
Yes.
Like, how did he do it?
Yeah.
He was going to unveil how Ant-Man is possible to do it.
Though, speaking of that, should we do a card trick? I do a card trick real quick.
Yeah. Hell yes.
Let's try something. We'll do a classic. What I like doing, especially now that there's so much Zoom and magic, you have to really, focus in on that. It's all real, even though we're on screen. But let's just try this. Travis, there are two colors in a deck of cards. There are red cards and black cards. Name a color, red or black.
Black.
Black. Okay, we'll go with that. Don't forget it. And there's clubs and there's spades. So it's your choice. You prefer the club or a spade.
Spade, because I see it on the cover.
That's great. But this is not. I could even done it this way. I don't want you to think it's.
Yeah.
I'm trying to set you up mentally, or am I? You don't know.
I don't know. I'm already confused.
So it's up to you. Do you want to stick with the spade? You can, or you can change your mind. It's up to you. It doesn't matter at this point.
I feel like you're trying to get me to switch. I'm sticking with the spade.
Spade. Oh, look, and there's a spade on my shirt too. Oh my God, there's a lot going on.
Oh no, I fell right into it.
You fell right into it. Am I doing it? I could be. All right. So now, Nicole, we know we have a spade card. All right. There's odd cards and there's even cards. It's your choice, odd or even.
Even.
So now let's think about this. You narrowed down to a spade. You narrowed down to even card. All right. So Brian, now it's up to you. You need to name an even spade card.
Even spade card.
Yeah, okay. So even number, and then we'll make it a spade in a deck of cards.
4.
4 spades. This deck has been in full view the whole time. I did not switch it, right, out of the way or anything like that. Remember you said the 4 of spades. I'm going to fan out this deck just like this. Can you guys see that?
Yep. Yes.
You can see one card and one card only is facing the opposite direction of the rest of the deck. If this was a card that you guys came up with the 4 spades, we'd have a miracle.
Get the hell out of here.
4 of spades. And we have not set this up, prearranged it, just so everybody's watching. We know that there's no way no.
It's even the same color, by the way, that I picked earlier. What the hell, dude?
It was a spade on the box, right?
How do you do that? Wait.
Like what we're gonna say before we say it. It's like they read our dang minds.
Yeah.
That's what's like, because what sells that so much is his hands went up and they never went down.
Yes,
exactly.
I stayed in the frame. Yes.
It's that close. You're like, what? How did I miss that? Like, I think I'm pretty smart, but guarantee I'm not.
Well, I think it has to do with our brain. I think.
Yeah.
Why is that such a large card?
Well, no, you just look very small.
Oh, I think I know what you did.
No, here, we'll try this. We'll try something else with this jumbo card. Travis, think of any playing card in the deck, any card except for a joker. Let me know when you're thinking of a playing card.
Okay.
Do you have one? Would you be impressed if the card you were thinking of was on the face of this card?
Yes, very much so.
That'd be pretty impressive. Would you be so impressed if you saw me out and about, you'd buy me a drink?
Sure.
All right, perfect. For the first time in a loud voice, what was the card you were thinking of?
The King of Clubs.
The King? Really? Oh, good. That's over here in this row right over here.
Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. It's still a fantastic. First off, I'm just going to say I love it. I love the comedic relief of it. But the other thing is he's asking me for a drink. He's more suited. Look at the row of stuff behind him. Right. Everything he needs to give me a drink.
Exactly. I'll send one over to you.
I like that one, though.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny, kind of break it up a little bit, a little comedy and the magic. So.
Yeah, because there's like this juxtaposition to it, because given what you just showed us before and then having that one, my mind is already racing thinking you're going to flip that around. I'm going to see that big card. And when it's not that, I'm just like, oh, goddamn. Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. I love playing against that expectation.
Yeah.
So, hold on a second, because there was like Houdini's in the back there.
Yeah.
And we were talking about like magic before, but Houdini was very much against spiritualism.
Yes.
And in that time period. So I think a lot of what he was doing was trying to prove that there is a sense of magic that's not otherworldly. Like there's this something real and tangible that people can learn and adapt to and to change and to become really good at. And that people kind of gloss over that whole part of how magic, the way, like the performing magic that we see came into play. It's like he really denounced spiritualism and didn't feel that there was any way that there was another realm that was connected to us and that people were just,
yeah. Well, his mom passed away and he really wanted to connect with his mom. And once he realized he really couldn't connect with his mom and they were taking his money, that's when he really turned on spiritualism. And his whole goal was to prove that they're all fakes, because he really wanted to connect with his mom one last time, and they could not do it for him. He would turn on the lights or he'd have his buddy set up to make sure what's underneath the table. And so the rumor is, it's one of those conspiracy theories that maybe when Houdini got punched in the belly, which actually broke his appendix, was a setup because the spiritualists were a little upset with him exposing their secrets, basically.
Yeah.
I just think that he was very torn. I think that a lot of people that want to prove somebody wrong and to do that, it comes from that hurt and that fear and that anger that they experienced from an experience that they couldn't handle. Yeah. And so he's just part of that. It's like, but then we got to make it a conspiracy because heaven forbid he just dies.
I know, exactly.
Of course, a terrible death like that, but heaven forbid, he just die because he was angry.
Yeah.
Like, let's make it a thing. Let's make it. They hid and killed him because he was against us.
So we're on this. I got to hear more about this bar tricks.
Oh yeah. So I've been doing different TikTok and stuff, and I'm doing like different bar, teaching people, things to win free drinks when the bar's open again. It's a good time to practice now at home. So when they finally get out, and plus we're all going to be a little broke, so it's a good way to win. So I came up with a kit. Where's that? Here it is.
You can get really drunk
Yes.
Bar bets.
Barbetsandtricks.com is the website, but it's all different bar bets. And I have this kit that actually has a bunch of different things in it to win free drinks, right? And it comes with a download of mine that has a book that I put out with 30 classic bar bets in it. And let me show you something that's in it here. Let's see. Let's do show you a couple of items that are in here. One of the items that you get is called the money box. So what you do with this, you take whatever bill and you're going to load it into the little box, and you challenge to say, this is a good thing to take out to a bartender. You go, here, in this box is your tip. All right. Now, if you can open this box, get the tip out without breaking the box, you get to keep the tip. But if you can't do it, you're still going to get the tip, but you have to buy me a drink. And they love playing with this behind the bar. In fact, it works its way down the bar. And I've never found anybody to figure this out, but there is a secret way. I'll just do it behind my back real quick, that you can easily open the box and hand it back to them, and there's no way. So this is a fun little thing that's inside there. I have a thing called the pyramid puzzle. It's just an easy 2-piece puzzle. It looks real simple, putting it together into a pyramid. No big deal, right? But when you go to hand it to somebody else, they work on this for minutes, sometimes hours at a time, trying to figure out how you made it into a pyramid. These are just kind of fun things that you can do. Even have at your house, on your table. People go, hey, what is that? Gives you a reason to start conversation into little bar bets. And also on my site, this is not in the kit. This is separate. But I've also come up with the official Erick Olson flaming wallet. Oh, yes.
That's awesome.
These things are great at church. What you do is you wait for them to bring around the offering and you pull out your flaming wallet. Ah! I have not given in weeks. All right. Now, I know some people are like, Eric, why do I need a wallet that sets on fire? Duh, guys, because it's a wallet that sets on fire. If you do this for your friends, you will be the bomb. Do not do it at the gas station. You will be the bomb. I always say it is real fire. Even though it is a real wallet, your credit card, your cash is completely safe. But because it's real fire, you must be 18 years or older to purchase my little fire wallets. And that's also on my bar bets and kits tricks.com website. So I'm doing a transition, trying to find things that regular people that don't need to be a magician. They don't have to have any magic skills, but can have a fun time entertaining people with my little kit. So it's kind of an adult magic kit almost. Without being magic, it's really bar bets.
Awesome. And then we have a special promo.
Yes.
With they can get free shipping.
Yes.
And that's they type in Reels, right?
Reels, yep, in the coupon code, and it's completely free shipping, whether they buy 1 item or 100 items. There's no minimum. So I kept it in there just for you guys. So if they go to barbetsandtricks.com, see anything from the firewall to the bar bets kit, there's some puzzles, all kinds of fun adult items on my website, and even a couple of my own tricks I've created that anybody can do on the site.
Yeah, I love the reason why I brought him on there. I saw him on Back in Cereal Box, and the trick that he did on that was awesome. And the conversation that they had, and we know John's hilarious.
Yeah, John is great.
The whole the whole tip thing, and you were saying that not only the bartender gets shocked, and everybody that's at the bar watching is like, how you do that?
Yes, and it gives a good conversation. It's a good way to meet new connections, even in business. So if you can break the ice, let's say at a corporate event or at a bar, or even when somebody comes over to your house, it just, if they like you, they want to use you for any kind of work or whatever. So like I said, these are all for laymen. You don't have to be a magician, but they're just fun things to show people that they can't do. And then you show them how to do it. And they're like, oh, why couldn't I figure that out? Here, I'll show you one that I did on John's show, because I'm sure you guys have different people. So let's say you're at somebody's house or out and about, and they have a bottle of champagne, right? A sealed bottle of champagne. This is one of my favorite little bar bets. You bet somebody that you can drink out of this bottle without removing the label or the cork, right? So you're going to bet them. And if they take the bet, you say, if I can do it, you're going to buy me a drink. But if not, if I can't do it, you owe me a drink. And of course, they're going to take the bet because it seems impossible. But this is an easy one anybody can do, because what you do on any wine bottle, champagne bottle, there's a little dimple in the bottom. So you just take whatever you're drinking, pour it inside. And now you've drank out of the bottle without removing the label, or the cork. So see, most bar bets are very simple, but they lead you down a path that seems impossible. And that's the whole trick to a good bar bet. People want to know the secret because it seems impossible, but they're all really easy to perform.
That is awesome. And now I can just see the wheels turning in Travis's head.
I'm sorry. Like the bar bets thing is like stuff I've looked up like online. Like I love those little like nifty things. Like if you're at a party or something, you're just like, hey, you want to see something really cool? Like I saw somebody doing one with like a like sleight of hand tricks, like with like a cigarette. Like you ask somebody like if they have a cigarette and you do all the stuff. And I'm sitting there and they're showing you like how to do it. And I'm still sitting here going like, how does it look when you see behind their hands? It makes so much sense, but it doesn't look at all like from the other side. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I've got a bunch on TikTok. So if they go to Bar Bets and Tricks on TikTok, they get tons of free, watch me do a bunch of bar bets just right on there. And I'm getting like a lot of hits. I know on one, I've got like over 230,000 views already on just one bar bet.
Wow.
Yeah.
They have a oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's there's a lag in the thing. I'm sorry, but it's funny because the moment where you're the one that's not in the know and somebody knows something more than you, you're just like, that's really cool. And then there's that exchange of information. I think that's where that vulnerability of character comes in. And then you're like, well, I don't mind knowing this person because, you know, I can learn something. I can, you know, be entertained by them or be interested by something they have to do. But a lot of it is listening. Like, I love it when my kids are like, they'll try to stump me with something in my classroom. And I'm like, you didn't like I listened to what you said.
That's really cool.
Cheryl performed Magic Comedy back in the 60s. What was that? My dad. Oh, excellent. Where was your dad out of, Cheryl? I'm reading a note. Cheryl said her dad used to perform magic back in the 60s.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the magic that you guys perform really hasn't changed over the years.
No, in fact, some of the props haven't even changed. And we make fun of that. Like, they still have like Oriental designs and stuff on a box. And we're like, you know, you'd think by now, 2013, they'd make them chrome and shiny, but you can still buy some of the same tricks exactly as they were made when I was a kid. They have not changed them at all. It kind of makes us laugh sometimes. Like, you know, didn't anybody think maybe now we should kind of change the design a little bit?
I think it's a sense of nostalgia, if anything. You want that classic look.
Yeah.
But maybe that's part of it too. Like, you get that is the nostalgia. Maybe that's part of the trick and the getting, you know, sucked into something, because you're like, this is something that I was interested in when I was a kid, you know. And I think 90s kids like us, like we eat that stuff up because we are holding on to our childhood, like, you know, gangbusters. I mean, like, think of all the stuff that's making a comeback.
Yeah.
Like Brewster's back, and, you know, like, I don't know, like, we're holding on to it. We're like, this is childhood.
And we're hoping our kids are going to enjoy it like we did. That's our hope, I think.
Well, and sometimes you watch and you're like, why did I think this was entertaining? I'm like, that's the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah. Well, how many times have you gone back to an old movie and you thought, man, I really love this as a kid? And you pull them like, ooh, and you can't make it through it all the way anymore. You're like, I don't know what happened. It used to be really good. Yeah.
That's what it was for me.
Oh, that's so cool.
Wow.
Not the clown
box.
part.
Yeah.
The sword box thing is cool, but the clown part, not so much.
So, Travis, I know you said you had to leave early. Do you have to go yet, or?
No, I have a couple more minutes. Yeah, no, I'm still good here. I'm just still listening to everything, because if I'm being honest, I'm still thinking about the kit and everything. Because like I was gonna say, I saw like videos and stuff on the bar tricks and everything, and there was one, and Eric, you've probably heard of this one, but it's like, I think you take 2 full bottles and you put them, one sitting upright, the other one upside down, and you sandwich them, and you sandwich $1 in between of them, and you have to like try to see about, can you get the dollar out?
Dollar out, yes.
And I saw I saw like the way that you're supposed to do it, and the way to do it makes no sense. I would never think to do that in a million years, but it works. And I'm just like, wow, like stuff like that. It's like, it really just gets the party going when you're just like out hanging out with friends or people you don't know, and you just want to, you know, talk or whatever.
It's kind of funny you brought that up. I have something similar in the kit. it's this ring, and I think it's called the bean and bottle. I don't know if I can really demo it here, but I'll just give you an example. This is kind of the same kind of thing, though, that you said this. This goes, here's a bottle. So this goes basically on top of a bottle. I don't have it on the table, but it comes with a bean that goes on top. And basically, they have to knock the ring out, and the bean falls in the bottle. And when they do it, it always goes flying. But once you know the secret, when you do it, every time, because you're showing the outside, I'm going to give you the kind of the tip on this one. But when you do the inside of the ring, it brings the bean to fall straight into the bottle. Over, if you hit the side, it will always go flying. So it's kind of a neat thing that they can't ever get the bean in the bottle, but you can do it over and over and over again. And it looks like you're doing the exact same thing, but because your finger's in the middle, it's on the outside of the ring, it makes all the difference. And that's actually one in the kit. But it's the same kind of thing. Once you know the little secret, you can do it, but they can't do it. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. I've seen it, and I'm just like, there would be me with a whole broken bottle of alcohol and a bottle of alcohol because I'm just not that smooth. Like I'm really, I trip on my own feet, and they're bare. Like I don't.
Yeah, some of them take a little bit of practice, but not too much.
Yeah, I would have a sense of destruction along the way of trying to learn how to do tricks that are proposed to me, because it's very much in my wheelhouse that I cannot help but to think super logically, and then I overthink in the wrong direction completely. That way I see the simple solution, I'm just like, oh god, I feel like an idiot.
That's what helps.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Like the wine bottle thing.
Yes,
the fact it's just like, oh, I get it. It's a riddle that I just didn't know I had to solve. Like it's just like, oh my god, I should have thought of that.
Well, because you're expecting something fantastical. You're not there.
And that's what a bar bet basically is. It's kind of a riddle that they can't figure out. And once you know it, you're like, oh, that's so obvious now. It's almost a twist on words in a way.
Yeah.
That's why you have to be a good listener and think about the semantics of the English language.
How long has the bar bet thing been around?
Well, you know what? That's been around. I would even say, now I'm just making this up. I mean, ever since bar's been around, somebody's had a way to get a free drink, right? But it's always been books. And then the last few years, maybe, YouTube or TikTok or whatever. And I thought, you know what? If I take some of these items, and even if they weren't bar bets, and make them into a bet, then I could have something that more tangible than just a book. I wanted stuff. People like items and be able to hold things. So I thought, okay, if I come up with this will be kind of different. And it's the first of its kind, as far as I know. You punch in bar bets kit, I'm the only one that comes up. So on Google.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
it's funny though.
Secrets.
Yeah. It took me about 6 months to put together, but
it's a way to reinvent yourself during this time of craziness.
Exactly, because people haven't been taking me for live performances, so I stalled longer than I thought. I assumed I was going to be back to work in 3 months. Who knew it was going to be a year of me not really performing? So I started going, okay, I got to use my creativity in a different way, and that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. So we've talked about a few we talked about WandaVision.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a couple other comic book characters that deal with magic, and that would be DC's Shazam.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And there's Constantine. Zatanna.
Zatanna. Yep. She really looks like a magician.
Yeah. And then was it the Sandman? I mean, it's a darker kind of graphic novel, but I believe it deals with magic.
Yeah, I don't know on that one, but yeah.
There's more of a supernatural element, isn't there?
Yeah, that's more.
I haven't read it, so I don't know. But.
Yeah, me neither.
So thoughts on the character Shazam?
Well, I always liked as a kid. I'm sure I'm a lot older than you guys, but when that TV show was on, I'd watch it every Saturday. I mean, Billy Batson going Shazam, and it was kind of crazy because we had two different Shazams, that it changed characters. But when you're younger, it didn't seem to matter so much. Now it's funny, but back then, like, oh, that's just a different guy playing Shazam, which always confused me because I always knew him as Captain Marvel when I grew up, and then for DC to have, I learned why, the whole lawsuit stuff. But as a kid, I got confused. Like, how is there a Captain Marvel guy and a Captain Marvel girl? One's DC and one's Marvel. And until Wikipedia, I was confused for years. Yeah.
Yeah. That one ain't magic. That's just legality. That's
Yeah.
real world stuff there.
Yeah.
Did you like the Zachary Levi version of Shazam? I thought that was a good movie.
I did too. It was a very entertaining, and I thought it went down a different road than what I thought it would. But I got to be honest, I really enjoyed it. You know, I'm sure some people did not, but I did. I thought it was very entertaining. It led me down a path that I enjoyed.
I liked it because I liked Zachary Levi. So it's just like, I guess it depends on the kind of comedy and the kind of what you go into it expecting. Like, you want it to be fun because it has to do with a kid becoming, you know, essentially a magical being in a way.
Yeah, which dealt with the Greek gods.
I think that's why I liked it so much, because of the fact I really delve into, for some reason, like the mythology aspect of things, because those are like they create it's the basics of storytelling and stuff, but it's just like, I don't know why those worlds and those characters are so cool. So that's why I like Shazam, because it kind of built off of that. And I think I like the Shazam movie, but that's kind of an easy win, because the way I've kind of analyzed it is, I mean, my bar was already kind of set so low for the DC movies already. That was just like, finally something that's like not bad. And then in retro, like, it's just it's better in comparison. And plus, Zachary Levi, I knew him before, you know, like this film and stuff. So when I knew that he was going to be cast, and when I saw him, you know, it worked because he's got this comedic but lovability about him that can be displayed as like the childish innocence of even in a grown man's body. So like, it just worked.
Yeah. The only thing I had to get over, I don't know about you guys, was first the costume when I saw the clips, because I was like, why is he wearing like this foam rubber? You just have a guy that's built, you know? So it did take me, but then once I got to where they were going with the movie, then I didn't mind it. But when I first saw the clips, I'm like, oh no.
Well, we actually met him in person at Mega in 2019 in Orlando. He's not a small guy.
He's a pretty built guy, actually.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And I'm pretty tall. I'm 6'3", and he was taller than me.
I had no clue.
He's that tall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I did not know that. I did not know he was that tall. Holy crap.
I mean, I'm 5 foot, so everybody's taller than me, even when they sit down. So, you know, that's a whole thing. But he was, and he had, like, his biceps were big.
Like, not even flexing. Like,
wow.
It could have been the shirt he was wearing, because he had it rolled up, you know, like. But it's just, you think about how people look on the screen, and you're like, well, they can't be that big in person, and then they become like really action.
And he was like the Hollywood actor I've ever met.
Good.
The dude, super chill, and like he met everybody that came to his table, and he didn't leave until his line was totally empty.
But he also asked a lot of questions, which I think is, like, he didn't gloss over anything. So, like, we were talking to him about, what were we talking to him about? Oh, comics in the classroom, right? And so he says, well, what do you want out of this? Like, what do you want me to endorse or say or whatever? And I said, I just want you to talk about how important reading is, and how important, you know, that connection to comics and reading is. And he is like, well, he says, I don't really have a lot of information about, or, you know, a lot of things to say about that. And I was like, but you are playing a superhero that is in comics. So, you know, you kind of have to have an opinion about it. But it wasn't like, there wasn't a clean cut, there wasn't a simple like answer to anything. Like, he was like, yeah, I'll do it, but I want to know why I'm doing this and that.
Yeah,
neat. Truly just not going along with something because it sounded good, but actually like wanting to be invested in whatever he was doing. And I thought that was cool.
And he did say he read comics, which helped him get through a lot of stuff, because he had a kind of troubled childhood. So,
and there's a lot of, I think, mental health things that I think comics help us with. Like, and I don't think that that was by default. I think Marvel really put people out there that had kind of like, that would meet the criteria of DSM-4 issues, because because we all kind of struggle with that. So like there's that, like you can understand the characters because we've all experienced something like that, or we've had dealings with some sort of crazy thing that happens in our life. So
yeah. Well,
I'm a Marvel girl.
Yeah, that's why you're a Marvel girl. So here,
except for Batman.
Well,
Yes.
I mean, it's Batman. I mean,
He's on the arm. I'm committed. I'm drawn already.
Well, my whole thing about Batman is that the alter ego that he constructs is the actual like real version, like the outward version. That's his alter ego, and that Batman is really him.
Yeah, Batman's Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne is the mask.
So the person behind that mask is not Batman. It's actually, or is Batman. I said that wrong. It's exactly the opposite of what I said at first, but yeah. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Anyways.
Well, that's what I think too with double ego characters. Like I had a problem with Ben Affleck because I didn't think he was a good Bruce Wayne. I want my Bruce Wayne to be different than Batman, and that's what makes the characters better. If that's just me, but I want a separation that I feel that they're one character when they're one, and then they're the other character when they're in their costume. That's why, Tom Holland's doing so good. He's a great Peter Parker, and he's a great Spider-Man. You can separate them almost as two different people.
Because he can live in both worlds. He can be that stuttering, stammering like teenager that's just dealing with the angst of being a kid.
Yeah.
And not even a kid because he's in his 20s, but and being that smooth talking, like wit throwing, he just had a quip for everything. And I'm like, dang, but he's like that in real life. Like if you've watched a lot of the stuff he does, he is quippy like that. He's pretty witty.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, I was just gonna say like Andrew Garfield. I just thought he was too good looking of a Peter Parker, and he wasn't geeky enough, and so I could not get into it because I want my Peter Parker to feel like a geek, and I didn't feel like he was a geek. I felt like he was still a good-looking guy who wouldn't have any issues.
They made him cool skater boy. I'm like, dude, this guy's not having any issues. Why are you pretending like he does? Like, come on, this guy's got it.
Yeah. So I was going to say that there's a television series that based on the books that we loved, and it ended too soon, and that was the Dresden Files.
Ooh, I never saw that.
Yeah, it has the actor who is from Arrow. He plays Laura Lance's dad.
Okay.
I can't think of his real name.
Yeah, I can't think of his name either. But he's a detective.
Harry Dresden, but he's investigating like magical type crimes and things. Like they all have an occult type, link to them.
Right, and it aired on the Sci-Fi Channel, but it is based on the novel books, the Harry Dresden Files.
Cool.
But it was something that I wish got more. And if you go online and just Google search Dresden Files, you'll see a lot of people who are like, we want more.
Yeah.
The most interesting thing, though, like when you think about magic is like that when you talk about supernatural magic is when they write a book about it or they write a book and it enthralls people. Like L.J. Smith wrote a series of books called The Secret Circle. And so it was all about witchcraft and a coven of witches. But the whole concept of this book was that they were teenagers and they all were dealing with fitting in and all that stuff. And then they made it into a TV show and they ruined it. They ruined it.
Yeah.
But, again, that was because it was a young adult book and it brought in all the ideas of being different and really being different. Like you have this power and you're trying to figure out where that fits in the world that you're living in.
Yeah. If you want to see a documentary where I'm a little cameo in it, it's all about magicians doing this as a living. It's called Magician's Life in the Impossible. And I know for a while it's been on Netflix and stuff. I don't know where it is now, but I'm sure it's still out there for free somewhere. Magician's Life in the Impossible. And it's all they go film for magicians on what we do in everyday life and how we make a living and how we hustle and And I did a little cameo. They had interviewed me on and stuff, so you can see me towards the end of the movie. And it's worth watching if you're curious what our world's like as a real person, how we, try to hustle to get work,
What's the name of this again?
Magicians, Life in the Impossible. Super long name. I didn't write it. So, but
this is why I need to write it down, or else I ain't gonna ever remember that.
No. And
so if there is a TV show that brought the supernatural element of witchcraft to the forefront, like into pop culture, I'd have to say that show probably would have been Charmed in the 90s.
I would say the same thing. Yeah.
Because I know in the 90s there was a couple movies like Practical Magic and Simply Irresistible. Practical Magic was with Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman, and then Simply Irresistible was Sarah Michelle Gellar. But yeah, Charmed brought it was like Twilight before Twilight, but with witches. Like it was like everywhere. I mean, it was a big.
It really started the drive to be interested again in witchcraft and in magic again, but.
Because the years prior, it was like werewolves and vampires, or slashers.
There's a cyclical thing in Hollywood. Like there's, certain things that are popular. And I think, when Charmed came out, it really did kind of give rise to, witches and stuff. But I think that a lot of what was happening when those movies were coming out is like, it was your own personal magic that would get you through what was happening. So while there was like a magical quality of it, is like, in Simply Irresistible, her magic comes through in her food. And so it intoxicates people and they're enthralled by the flavor she's cooking in her kitchen, which essentially equates to being a kitchen witch.
Yeah.
There was the rule of 3 and the power of 3 when it had to do with the girls and Charmed. And I think that a lot of that.
It was based on like the real witchcraft mixed with the fantasy elements of Hollywood.
But I think a lot of that is like real witchcraft. There's lots of different versions of it. So it's like, what do you want to, put out there? It's like, even The Craft. Like
The Craft, yeah.
I'll be completely honest. Like when people talked about The Craft and then they talk about like good and bad magic, it's like, okay, well, white magic and dark magic is all in the magic is magic. It has no alliance. It's in the user. So when people talk about, Agatha Harkness, it's like, yes, her magic was either good magic or bad magic, but that's because the user was going to get something from it. So did she have to be devious or could she be good? It's like, it wasn't good magic or bad magic. It was just her use of the magic. Yeah. And they talked about that in The Craft, and they talked about that in Charmed, and they talked about that in a lot of other places like Practical Magic, where one sister was good and the other sister was not. And they both tried to find a way to get out of a situation.
Yeah, and what if we go back further, where there was comedy elements, Bewitched?
I was thinking the same thing, and I Dream of Jeannie. And they always had like a bad cousin, that and stuff,
Or even Sabrina the Teenage Witch, like when Melissa Joan Hart played it. Not the Netflix character, but when Melissa Joan Hart played it, there was the kind of totally aloof aunt, and then the more like, this is how it needs to be aunt, kind of like thing, but which is pretty much the same in the Netflix.
Well, the things about Sabrina is the older Sabrina was based on the older version of the Archie comics, where the Netflix series is based on like the later edition when even Archie itself went dark, where it was like Archie versus zombies and all that. So both of them were true to their comic source, which I enjoyed both.
I think people who complain about any given thing, it's just because they don't know about it. Like, I prefer, like, I don't really like Riverdale, but I love Sabrina. And I loved Sabrina when it was, Melissa Joan Hart, but I also loved Sabrina when she went dark and the whole, like, you signed the book of the beast and blah, 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 blah. Like, I like all the occult stuff anyways, but hence, my shirt and it says the answer no. And, like, there's just that, but there's that, like, we don't know it. And then the power really comes from us. We're the makers of our own personal magic. It's really not, it's how we manifest things into real life. It's like the power of the universe is just how you use it. It lives inside of you.
Now, let me ask you guys this, because I know Travis is probably going to have to go soon. What is the actual, like, thought of this type of magic that it could actually exist? Like, do you have, like, I know science tells us, well, it doesn't really tell us because they don't really know. I mean, do you think the
law says energy is neither created nor destroyed, so it's got to go somewhere. So
I think people at least want it to be. I think that's the hope, right? There's always that thing like, oh, is that magic? I mean, even little kids, when I do a card trick, they'll ask you, is that real magic? I'm like, no, any 12-year-old can do what I do with 20 years of practice. It's.
Yeah. I mean, because you're separated by the magicians and the illusionist, right? It's two different things.
Yep. Big boxes, whether you put somebody in a box or you're doing a card trick, whether it's sleight of hand or an illusion. We kind of play it. David Copperfield used to say, he says he's an illusionist because he gets paid 20% more by saying that, So.
Smart man.
Yeah.
He's playing the cards, pun intended.
Right. And, there's movies that, like Burt Wonderstone, we're talking about movies. That was more of a, regular magician movie, not, power movie, like, or Now You See Me, or, so.
Yeah. That first Now You See Me movie.
The first one was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. The second one, but it was funny that they had Harry Potter himself as the bad guy in that one.
Yes. With
a 5-minute monologue, I believe, when he first has his screen time, nonetheless. Yes. So I'm like, wow, way to go, Daniel.
Yeah.
Killed it.
It's always funny, like, when you watch, like, somebody play a magician on TV. Like, I don't know any magicians that actually are like that.
Yeah. But I just want to go on to the Now You See Me thing real quick, and then we'll let Travis go. Could you actually imagine, like, someone pulling a heist off like that? That would be so, like...
I would love it to happen.
So well written. So nobody saw that coming.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want anybody, like, to steal money or anything, but if they did it that way, I would be like, that's kind of cool.
A lot of the first thieves were magicians. They would shoot things in their jacket and it was called a top it, which magicians use now, but thieves used to use it to shoot things into their jacket to steal. They pick it up and so a lot of the first thieves were really magicians that, decided to make a living stealing with the art.
Right.
That is the side of the good and the bad magicians.
Yeah. So Travis, I know you do have to go. I do want to say thank you for joining us. And where can people find you?
The short answer is always the simplest one, which is I'm a part of a group that you all might know of by now called Nerd Culture, and you can follow us on all forms of social media at It's Nerd Culture on everything from Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. And if you're curious about, if you're on the topic of magic, if you guys wanted to check something out, we recently did a review of the episode 8 of WandaVision, like we were talking about earlier. Cool. So you can check that out. And then personally for me, you can find me on Instagram, most likely at Friendly Neighborhood Cassowary, hard to spell, and on Twitch, actually, streaming a barrage of content sometimes titled The FN Cassowary. I can't explain why I picked that name. It's a whole backstory, but it's fun nonetheless. But that's where you can find us.
Travis, it's been a joy having you, and I hope that you can come back again because I do love your
Thanks, Travis.
Thank you. I thank you for having me. I said that multiple times at the beginning, and I'll say it again. Thank you for having me. I love being able to talk about anybody about stuff, like, because again, quarantine time. I need something to do. I need something to do. I might even take Eric up on the offer of getting that wallet, just so when I finally do start leaving the house again, I can start having my friends try to bum money off me, and I can just be like, oh man, no, that sucks.
Yeah, my wife burns a hole in my wallet. Yeah,
Eric,
exactly.
Battle of the Nerds episode someday in the future.
Oh yes, Eric, if you're down for it, I will talk to the team because we would love it.
I would love it too.
Okay, let's make something happen then.
Yeah,
I'll talk to the team then. Hell yeah!
All right.
I like it.
All right, Travis. We'll talk to you later, brother.
All right, you all take care. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Wow, Eric, this has been a fun episode.
Thank you for having me out. It's gonna be crazy if I make him appear right now. Wouldn't you freak out, Travis?
That would, if that rabbit turned into Travis.
Different kind of man.
I think we would have hit on this episode.
Look, he manifested Travis.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to. I saw my cat. I was trying to grab him real quick, but he ran away. Like, here he is.
So, is there any other magic movies or TV shows that you can think of, Eric, that you'd like to talk about that are pretty cool?
I'm trying to think because we pretty much covered the main ones that everybody, if they haven't seen, they should see, right?
Exactly.
Right. And back in the day, there was a show called Black's Magic. I'm sure almost all TV you can probably find on YouTube now, right? So Black's Magic was like a detective, and he would do magic tricks and find and then use his magic to figure out stuff. That aired, I think, in the 80s for like 2 or 3 seasons. I really liked that back in the day. And of course, way back there was The Magician with Bill Bixby, and then he became the Incredible Hulk, which was amazing.
He's such a great actor.
He was great.
I think he's an underrated actor. I don't think a lot of people talk about him. Like, there should be more talk about Bill Bixby.
Yes, you're right. I mean, everything from, not that it's magic, but courtship to Eddie's father to everything. He was just.
Yeah, the Elvis movies he did. He was good.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Died at a young age too.
Yeah. I mean, I remember he hosted that TV show. Was it about Elvis? I think about like the sightings of Elvis.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was right around the same time that William Shatner did the whole Rescue 911.
Yes, and it was like, is Elvis still alive? I think they were called.
Yeah. Here's one from the 80s that I think a lot of people forgot. Out of This World.
Out of This World.
It was where the mom was human and the dad was an alien, and then like she would go like this and freeze time, and like everybody would freeze. It had Doug McClure was in it.
Wow, I never saw that.
Yeah, and it's not on any streaming service. It's not even out on DVD.
Wow.
Which is amazing to me because, again, that was our childhood.
Yeah, and then there was that movie with she was in Karate Kid 3. It's called Teen Witch. She's the older sister of Ryan Reynolds' wife, which I just found out. I didn't know that they were siblings.
I didn't know that either.
It's because their names are not the same. It's not, her last name's not Lively. Because Blythe Danner is Blake Lively's mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Did you notice in that Blake Lively, the last movie she did with all she did was always have her husband's gin through the whole movie. So she kept pushing Ryan Reynolds. The whole movie is just a commercial basically for Ryan Reynolds gin. Yeah. I was like, every time she's making a thing and you'd see it on the back shelf, like here, I was like, product placement through the whole movie. It was basically a commercial, and then he ended up selling that, right?
Can we talk about the whole Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds? Like, that's a product placement right there.
Yeah.
It's either his coffee or the gin.
Or the gin, yeah.
Yeah,
two things I think that got a lot of us through the pandemic, the worst parts of it.
Yeah.
Well, that's
alcohol and coffee.
Yeah, and it's funny because that feud has been going on for a few years. Like they would go on, like I think it started even when Jay Leno was still hosting the Tonight Show, and then Jimmy,
because he would feed it.
Yeah, they would have the back and forth. But is there anything else that you would like to show us? Maybe another trick? And
sure. I could do something else for you guys real quick.
Where people can find you.
How about I do this? I'll do. Let me see if I can do this. I'm gonna bring the camera down. Let's see if we can do this. We're gonna try something. If this will work. All right. Let me move this out of here. Actually, if I do this, can you still hear me?
Yes.
All right. Just for this one, I want to make sure we're going to do a thing. One of my own card tricks. Now, normally when I do a card trick, you know what happens. Usually have somebody pick a card out of a deck, right? But because we're doing it virtually, I can't have you pick one. So do me a favor. Brian, give me a number between 10 and 20.
14.
14. Keep me honest. I'm going to count down 14 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You said 14, right?
14, yeah.
Now, this is normally where you hand somebody the card. But you know what? You expect more from me than that. Maybe everybody picks 14. So we're going to give you a number that you didn't even think of. We're going to put the 1 and the 4 together, get 5. And now you have a number that you didn't even think you would get. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to turn my head. You just have to believe me, but I want you to look at it, memorize it. You got it?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Do not forget it. Otherwise, this will get really boring. Now, what we do is I'm going to try to, first of all, read your mind. So look this way. All right, I've got it. It was a black card. Am I correct?
Yes.
I think I'm done. That's pretty good. Okay, you guys expect more from me than that, right? So I'm getting, it was a high card. Am I correct?
Yes.
I'm getting the ace of spades.
You're correct.
Now, maybe I cheated the camera. So let's make it more difficult. What we're going to do, give a couple cuts. I'm going to spell ace of spades. A-C-E-S-P-A-D-E-S. Ace of spades. And then hopefully we cut to the ace of spades right there. Now, I know what you're thinking, Eric. I expect more from you than that. So I'm going to take these aces, the ace, and then turn these all into the 4 aces. And if I rub the cards over here, then I can get a straight 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, all in spades. Now, I can tell by that reaction I'm getting from you guys that you expect more from me than that. So in a straight-handed poker, Brian, do you know how many cards you need?
Is it
5?
5, yeah.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me move these forward just a little bit. So for that, the best hand you get in poker is a royal flush. So if I could get now a king of spades, a queen of spades, a jack of spades, and a 10 of spades, that would be pretty cool right there.
Okay,
but
wow.
I can tell by that reaction from you guys, you expect more from me than that. So what we're going to do, give the cards a couple cuts like this. And hopefully now, we move these aside. There's not a lot of room on this table. I can separate all the hearts, all the clubs, all the diamonds, and that's all the spades. And you can't expect more from me than that right there.
That's genius.
And that's what we call my Olson's closer right there, because that's the closing of my card set. Usually I have a camera going down a lot easier, but there he goes. I think you guys can still get that in shot pretty good.
Wow, that's cool. That is cool.
Excellent. I usually end, if you like me, I'm Erick Olson. If not, I'm David Copperfield.
Oh, man, that is so cool. And you said that's like an original by you that you've done, huh?
Yep. An original thing. And actually, it's on I finally started selling it because of everything going down. So people can learn it right on my on my Bar Bets and Tricks site. It's called Olson's Closer, and I have it on there.
Okay,
That's cool.
I need to learn that.
Yeah, it's good. It's a nice routine. Deck of cards, boom, and you're ready to go.
That is wow. Like I don't even know what to say now. I'm like I was watching you the whole time, and I was like, how is he doing that?
The cool part about it is that it's like, don't ruin it, because I don't want to know how.
No,
That was really cool.
It looks even cooler live, let me tell you.
Wow, Eric, it's been fun having you on today. Once again, where can people find you on social media?
Okay, so, if you go to anything on social media, if you put Comedy Magician, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I've taken all of it over. So Comedy Magician, you can find me on everything, or just punch in Erick Olson on Google and you'll find me that way too. But I pretty made it simple. The only one I couldn't get Comedy Magician on was on TikTok. Somebody already beat me to that one for some reason. So that's why I went to my Bar Bets and Tricks for my TikToks. But anywhere else, just Comedy Magician. And I hope you guys all find me and say hi.
Yeah. And Eric was, kind enough to give us the free shipping promo code for barbet and tricks.com. It's Reels.
Yeah,
so
don't forget to use it. It's worth doing.
It's definitely worth it. I was looking at the website. He has a lot of cool stuff.
Free shipping.
Everybody loves that. Woo! And I usually get it out that day. I'm really, really good about I want my stuff right away. I know how everybody else does. So I try to get it shipped right out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a fun episode. And I think it's about time to do what we do every week, and that's to ring the bell.
Ooh, nice.